All right, today we're jumping into a fantastic story from the kingdom of Bharatpur, a place where being clever isn't just a skill, it's a matter of survival. The stakes are incredibly high.
So, what if your life, your family's future, everything depended on a single clever answer? I mean, really think about it. You get it right, you're saved. You get it wrong, you walk away with absolutely nothing. Well, for the people living under one particular king, this wasn't just some hypothetical question. This was their reality.
You see, in the kingdom of Bharatpur, King Vikram Singh was famous for being generous. But there was a catch, a big one. His charity wasn't free. You couldn't earn it with hard work or loyalty. Nope, you had to earn it with your brain.
The king's rule was simple and totally absolute. He'd say, I only give charity to those who can answer my questions. Answer correctly, and you could basically ask for whatever you needed. But fail, you get nothing. You're sent away with empty hands. Talk about high stakes.
And that brings us to our main character, a poor Brahmin named Kishan. Now, Kishan is a smart guy, very learned, but he's in a really tough spot. His daughter is getting married, which is amazing news, but he has zero money for the wedding. So what does he do? He hears about the king's crazy challenge and decides to risk it all. He travels to the palace, bringing his two sons, Ajay and Vijay, along for backup.
So, the king agrees to test the family. He starts with the father, Kishan. And the first challenge? It's not a simple question. It's a story, a puzzle wrapped up in a tale about a really, really difficult choice.
Okay, so the king starts his story. It's all about this Princess Padma. She's got to choose a husband, and her dad, the king, in this story within a story, is getting pretty impatient. So he lines up 4 young men for her to choose from. All of them are super accomplished, but in totally different ways.
So, here are her options. First up, you've got the merchant, a total pro at managing money. Then there's the naturalist, who can literally talk to birds and animals. Pretty cool, right? Third is the scholar, a guy who knows all the ancient scriptures inside and out. And finally, there's the archer, a warrior so good he doesn't even need to see his target. He can hit it just by hearing it.
So that's the setup. The king turns to Kishan and asks, all right, who should she pick? I mean, each one brings something to the table, right? The merchant offers financial security. The naturalist, this incredible connection to the world. The scholar brings wisdom, and the archer brings protection. So, who would you choose? It's a tough one.
But Kishan? He doesn't even blink. He immediately says the princess should choose the fourth suitor, the archer. And you gotta wonder, why him? The other guys sound pretty impressive, maybe even more impressive depending on what you value.
Well, here's the brilliant part. The answer has nothing to do with who's the best in terms of skill. It's all about social rules. See, as a princess, Padma is part of the Kshatriya caste. That's the warrior and ruling class in traditional Indian society. And the rules, the traditions, were very clear. A Kshatriya marries a Kshatriya. The archer was the only one who was also a Kshatriya. So this first test wasn't about cleverness in a vacuum. It was about knowing how the world actually worked.
Okay, the king is seriously impressed. But he's not done yet, not by a long shot. He turns to Kishan's first son, Ajay, for round 2. And this time, it's another story, but a completely different kind of test. This one is all about practical, hands-on problem solving.
Here's the news story. There's this poor farmer, and his mother is super sick. He's desperate for money to get a doctor. So he goes to the one person with cash, the village moneylender, who's known for being incredibly cheap. The moneylender says, sure, I'll help you. But, of course, there's a catch. He gives the farmer this bizarre, totally impossible-sounding task.
And this is the riddle the king now puts to Ajay. The moneylender tells the farmer, bring me air in one piece of paper and fire in another. Just stop and think about that for a second. How on earth do you deliver air in a piece of paper, and how do you carry fire in paper without the whole thing just bursting into flames? It sounds like a trick question, right?
But Ajay's answer is just perfect. It's so simple and so practical. For the air, he says you fold the paper into a fan. When you wave it, what are you delivering? Air. And for the fire, you build a paper lantern, a kandil, which can safely carry a flame inside. Just brilliant. It's not about magic, it's about seeing things in a new way.
2 down, 1 to go. The king is loving this. He's clearly pleased. But there's one last challenge. He turns to the second son, Vijay. And for this final test, there's no story. It's a direct order, a real test of pure, out-of-the-box logical thinking. The king gives Vijay what sounds, at first, like a pretty straightforward task.
He says, "Go out into my kingdom and bring me back 2 men who are total and complete opposites." Okay, simple enough, maybe. But the details are where it gets tricky, maybe even impossible.
Because the king lays out a very specific paradox. He wants one man who has never ever told a lie, and another man who has never ever told the truth. I mean, how could you possibly find people like that? And even if you did, how could you prove it? It's a real head-scratcher.
So Vijay just nods, accepts the challenge, and heads out. Later that day, he comes back to the court, but he doesn't have 2 guys with him. He walks up to the king and presents just one man. The king is probably thinking, uh-oh, did he fail? Did he misunderstand me?
And then the big reveal. Vijay says, "Your Majesty, this one man has both qualities you asked for. He's never told a lie, and he's never told the truth, because he can't speak. He's mute." Boom! He didn't try to solve the paradox head-on, he just stepped outside of it. Absolutely brilliant.
And with that final, genius answer, the family did it. They passed all 3 of the king's tests. The king isn't just satisfied at this point, he's genuinely, deeply impressed by the combined brainpower of this Brahmin and his 2 sons. So in the end, the king basically says, you know what? A family this smart deserves my help. And he doesn't just hand them a bag of coins. He goes way beyond that. He announces that he, the king, will personally pay for the entire wedding for the Brahmin's daughter. It's the ultimate reward for their cleverness.
So what's the big takeaway here? This story is more than just 3 cool riddles. It's really about 3 different kinds of wisdom. That first riddle, that was a test of social wisdom, understanding the unwritten rules of society. The second was all about practical wisdom, that ability to come up with creative, hands-on solutions. And the third one? That was a test of logical wisdom, or lateral thinking, the genius to look at a problem and just completely sidestep its assumptions.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to chew on. The king used these questions to decide who was worthy of his help. It really makes you wonder, right? If you had to test a person's true character with just one question, what would you ask? Would you test how well they know the world, how good they are with their hands, or how cleverly they can think? What kind of riddle do you think really reveals who a